A riparian buffer is vegetation along a stream bank which includes trees, and this vegetation helps the water quality of the stream. In the case of the Huntington County Conservation District, the stream there is not supporting any sorts of invertebrate life and has very poor water quality. To fix this problem, the Conservation District planted hundreds of trees along the stream in a field to act as a riparian buffer. Our job was to find out what trees were dead so that they could be replanted.
The riparian buffer that we assessed was split up into 3 groups along a potential runoff of the Juniata River. We were assigned to 2 rows of trees, 14A and 15A. While checking the growth of the trees, we also made notes of anything that could have affected their growth. This could be invasive plants, harmful species like voles or insects, or too much or too little water in the area.
To determine if the tree was alive or dead, we picked up the tubing and removed the leaves and grasses. We then looked if there was a tree present and if that tree was still standing upright without stiff branches. Then we put the tubing back on the tree and would use a hammer to put it back into the ground. We marked the dead trees by spray painting the tubing.
As we worked down both rows, we recorded that roughly 75% of the trees planted there were alive or showed new growth, while around 25% of them were dead or missing.
For our observations, we focused on what stood out the most during this engagement project. The main topic that we focused on was tree status versus elevation. Both rows started on a semi-steep hill, traveled down into a swampy field, and then traveled slightly up onto a smaller hill. Starting with the semi-steep hillside, we were focused on trees 1 through 9 in both rows. Majority of these trees were dead or barely alive. Next was the swampy field, which was based around the trees 10 through 19 in both rows. These trees were not present at all. The only things that were left were the remnants of stakes and busted up tubes. Lastly was the smaller hill, which consisted of trees in both rows. Almost all of these trees were alive, and several of them outgrew their tubes.
In conclusion, it can be seen that an area's elevation can affect a tree's status. In terms of the semi-steep hillside, some factors that could have come from this include 1. The trees may not have been getting a lot of rain because it would just run off the hill. 2. Nutrients in the soil could have been washed away by rain. Or 3. Soil composition may not have been ideal. In terms of the swampy field, some factors that could have come from this area include 1. Too much water coming in at once, resulting in flooding. 2. Nutrients in the soil may have been too concentrated. Or 3. Soil composition may not have been ideal as well. In terms of the smaller hill, some factors that could have come from this area include 1. A perfect amount of water being evenly distributed. 2. A good amount of nutrients in the soil. And 3. General soil composition in general. After completing our community engagement project, we have learned that the purpose of these riparian buffers are extremely important. For this specific riparian zone, it was not in the best condition, but it was getting better little by little, the more that people put effort into it. Some ideas or changes that could be made to improve the zone include 1. Possibly leveling out the areas to the best degree. 2. Creating ditches for excess water to run through. 3. Possibly creating an area for shrubs or even planting more trees. Or 4. Bringing in sturdier tree tubes and stakes that wouldn't fall out and disappear.